Hey, I believe we are live. Thank you all for joining me. I'm Dr. Jena Vargas. I go by Jena, but you'll see that on my LinkedIn as Dr. Jena Vargas. So thanks so much for joining today. I have started scheduling this year a monthly Q&A. So this is for career and life transitions that you want to talk about, have questions, get kind of ideas. You can definitely do that through the comments chat section. So feel free to do that. I wanted to just do a quick introduction. So as you likely know by now, I'm Jena Vargas, based here in Tampa, Florida, mom of 3, soon to be 4 come June. And I have been in the HR recruiting world and more recently recruiting in HR for over 15 years, but more recently branding, executive and career and life coaching. And really, how do we optimize like our personal brand to really connect for opportunities as like a thought leader? So today I'm going to be doing a quick Q&A for about 30 minutes. I have questions that have already come through, but if you have any new questions or additional questions, feel free to add them. And the goal here is to really help you all as high performers really be able to optimize different areas of your life, whether that's your career/business, wealth building. That's an area that I really want to start kind of exploring and sharing and educating more on, as well as well-being. What are we doing for ourselves and how are we showing up as our best selves in each of the given areas? So we'll talk a little bit over time about that. So thanks so much for hopping on. While we have some new questions coming through, let me show you here. So on StreamYard, let me first make sure you should be able, if you want to give me like a comment down below where you are watching live from, you can put your name and your location. Like I would put Jena, Tampa, Florida. That would be helpful. Let me pull up here. So I'll put that. So I'm going to be putting on the banner kind of the questions that are coming through, and then I'll be answering them very high level, but informative, I think is going to be helpful. So first question we had coming through, let me add it here. I'm loving StreamYard. First question, what's the best way to start looking for a job? And I think before we start looking for anything, the goal is to really think about doing some self-reflecting and journaling of like, first, why are we looking and what are we looking for? Really, that definition and that vision forward is going to be so critical because we want to make sure that we have a very focused kind of job search strategy and what the intention is. Are we looking to be a W-2, a 1099, start a small business? What is our intention and our goal to be able to define that? Do that research. I think research is so helpful in the process. So we're not just randomly looking for, there's like a moving target. So definitely defining and researching is where I would totally spend my energy. And I know firsthand that is a critical place. So the best way to start looking is by kind of planning, defining, and researching, and then kind of taking those action steps forward. And when I work with my clients, I have a framework that really helps you simplify the process, helps you save time, helps you stand out, all of that good stuff to really start scheduling more interviews and demanding a higher salary. So that is where I'll leave you with that question. And if there's any follow-ups, I'm happy to answer those as well. This next question came in just yesterday, which kind of crosses over into work and life, which I really like seeing this question come through. So how do I set boundaries in work and life? And I'm actually working through our women's church group we have. It's called, Lisa Turkhurst has a book in a small group, kind of a workbook that we're going through, and it's called Good Boundaries and Goodbyes. So it's all about how do we set expectations, which now we call boundaries, and really how do we lay that out for people in different dynamics and different relationships. So I think based on the question that came through is more of like, hey, if people are contacting me on InMail and DM and all these different areas, what is that level of expectation and boundaries? If it's after hours or if they are just using up time without valuing your time as well. So I would definitely say setting boundaries. I'm learning this as well. It's a work in progress. So I would say boundaries is all about defining like what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. And then communication is going to be so critical. So communicating with friends, partner, spouse, children, there's different dynamics in different relationships. So being crystal clear of like, hey, I work, between 9 to 5 or between 10 and 2, or depending on what your availability is, and just communicating that. And then hopefully whoever you're engaging with is respectful of those boundaries. And what I'm learning is that if people are not at the level of bringing the responsibility or the level of respect, you give them limited access. So that means kind of making sure that you're not over delivering or over extending yourself, not over delivering, but overextending yourself more than you need to. But definitely recommend Lisa's book. It's been very eye-opening. I have like the Audible, but it's not one of those things as kids or as even adults that we learn. We kind of have to educate ourselves and do more of like learning and development to strengthen this muscle. So hopefully that's helpful. Definitely communication and communicating expectations and what your boundaries are. And if people aren't respecting that, you don't have to lower your communication level, or you don't have to lower yourself to that experience. You can say, I'm no longer going to be kind of talking about this, or I've already addressed this, and kind of move away and move on. So hopefully that's helpful. And I think boundaries in general, if you're working in a toxic work environment, it's having those conversations with a supervisor, with HR. I had a girlfriend this last week that she's kind of experiencing that in her role. And I think it's, if you feel like you're not getting that level of respect, or you're not getting what you need from the workplace, it's like, how do you gracefully communicate that and kind of bow out or transition out, but let the company know, so you're not totally just walking away with nothing, but actually saying, hey, this has been my contribution. These have been my struggles. Where can we find a happy medium? Oh, yay. Hey, Erin, thanks for hopping on. And Idalia, woohoo, we have a Floridian, and I see one from Utah. Anybody else, if you want to put your name, first name, and then you can put location, like I'm Jena, based here in Tampa, Florida. Just love to see where people are hopping on from. We get people nationwide and even international. I had somebody, one of my first international clients I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to pull it up, but it's definitely outside the United States. I am 5 months pregnant, so my brain is not fully here. So bear with me. So let me go back. So I'm going to undo that. All right, perfect. So that was all about boundaries and in work and life. So the next one I'm going to bring on until these are coming in from this week, but if you have any other hot topics or questions, I'm happy to address those as well. So some of you might also be experiencing or having questions on this if you're either newer to the job search process or transitioning and overcoming adversity. So how do I stand out in a crowded field of applicants? So I'm going to pause there a sec. Few things you want to know as a job search applicant, whether you're a consultant as a 1099 or W-2, or looking for full-time with benefit employment opportunities. How do you stand out? Is what differentiates you? What is your value add? And you might be thinking, I have no idea. I've never even thought about this. So you want to definitely kind of think about that and have some time for self-reflection. So this is what I like to say is like, what are your God-given talents and what makes you uniquely you? And these might evolve over time, new seasons, new chapters of life, like you might get more defined over the years. So how do we stand out? Definitely personal branding is what a lot of my clients come to me for. So that could be everything from resume, cover letter, LinkedIn optimization. Really, what's going to make you uniquely you? What's going to catch their eye? Recruiters literally have 7 to 10 seconds to look at that resume in the ATS applicant tracking system. And there might be hundreds of applicants. So what are you going to do to kind of shine, to stand out? And just to give you some history, I am the youngest of 3, but then when I was about 4, we were a blended family. So I was what was called a munchkin. So I was one of the younger 2 of 6, right? So I always had to find unique ways. What's going to help me stand out, be different, get attention? So this has always kind of been my forte or my area that I've kind of nurtured and evolved into over the last 4 to 5 years, where people are realizing the return on investment with personal branding. And how do we stand out from the crowd as a thought leader, as an expert? Because yes, you might be starting your career, but you're going to evolve over the years to figure out what is your expertise. What are you honing your skills on? Do I want to be an individual contributor or a people leader? Kind of navigating your career, it's so important that we have a mentor or somebody to provide some guidance. So hopefully that's helpful with standing out in a field of applicants, because you might be stuck in that black hole where recruiters don't even have time to look at hundreds of applicants. So two big things: employee referrals and informational conversations with recruiters is essential. We can no longer just apply anymore and wish and pray that somebody's going to contact us. Okay. So we're going to hide that one. Let's see if there's any new questions. Perfect. We're going to keep moving. So the next question that came in this week was, or is, are there red flags to watch out for during the job search? So over the last not only the last 2 weeks I had somebody, but even like within the last 60 days, some people are saying, hey, there's like some fraudulent offers and fraudulent job opportunities on LinkedIn. So you want to make sure it's certain like copywriter roles, content. There's like a certain sector that I'm noticing it a little bit more in. So first and foremost, who is sending the job opportunity? I don't know if you've had this, but my account was hacked in the past, sending out job opportunities for different roles in different companies that I have never been associated with. So who is the opportunity coming from? And kind of getting a sense of like, have I spoke with this person before? Is there the way that they kind of communicate? So the next thing there is doing research on the point of contact. Does it look legit, their profile? Are they engaging online? Are they interactive, and who is in their network? The next one is like offers that are not well written. So I recently, this last week, I reviewed, I said, hey, happy to help you. There was somebody on my email and she was like, hey, just got an offer. They're asking me to buy equipment. They're going to send me this check for reimbursement and get my account information. It just sounded very shady. And I said, just let's take a pause. Let me look at the offer. The offer was not even well written in English. So that, to me, the formatting of it, what they even put in there was no start date. It was just very sketchy. So it turns out it's based on like additional follow-up. It sounded like it was a scam. So she had to go back into the job search process, which is unfortunate. We talked about that, and requesting a personal account information, kind of out of sequence. Like before they even run a background, they're asking for account information to send this check. Like these days, things are digitalized. They can reimburse. You submit an expense report, or they might give you a company corporate card. Really like old school check and reimbursement, or just stay away from it. It sounds very sketchy, and you can definitely do your research. Red flag. For sure. If you're just hopping on, make sure we put our name in the comment section and where you're checking in on live, where you're calling in from or checking things out. All right, so next question we'll go to, it's 1:15. Very good. How can I find out about hidden job opportunities? So they're probably not so hidden, but more confidential. So a few things I have in mind for us is this. All right, so a few things that I think outside the box. So typically confidential searches that may not be promoted, typically third-party recruiters are going to be your go-to resource. So you can look them up locally, nationwide. These days, I highly recommend nationwide, since there's a lot of remote opportunities where you can work remotely here and there if you need to travel, or sometimes it's 100% remote. Third-party recruitment agencies are different. They're hired by employers and paid a percentage if they do hire the talent, right, for the companies or the employers. The next thing is networking, and this could be online, face-to-face. This could be through association groups. This could be online networking groups. This could be your daily commenting and like engaging, and you get kind of, this happened to me when I was in the job search candidate process. I had communicated and interacted with somebody online, and she was like, hey, I actually have an opportunity, would love to chat with you. Haven't even posted it. So I thought that was interesting. She had even said like, hey, there was this role that you maybe were interested in, but I think you'd be a better fit for this leadership role. So just having communication, networking, how can I serve? How can I give? Thinking about how can you gift your time and help somebody else in your area of expertise that they may not be a specialist in, is going to be so helpful and open up doors for you. So that is what I would recommend for kind of thinking outside the box of job search opportunities. All right, we are moving and shaking. I'd love to see where you're calling in from. If you want to put Jena, Tampa, Florida, whatever your shout out is, would be fantastic. We have a few more questions coming in here. So how do I know if a company is a good fit for me? This you will learn over time as you have conversations, as you get to know what you're looking for and what you will, kind of going back to boundaries, like what do you want to tolerate? So what are we looking for is going to be first and foremost, what are our top priorities in the next company, the culture, like what are we looking for as a whole? So then we can go out and find it. Just like in dating and matchmaking, how are we going to make sure we're compatible? What are we looking for? What are our priorities, values, etc. Definitely checking out glassdoor.com is so helpful in doing your research among others. And just during those conversations, first having a dream list and doing your research. What are the companies we're honing in on? What do they value as far as company culture, leadership, transparency, work-life harmony, growth and development, career advancement? These are like some of the hot items that come up a lot in my conversations and under the HR umbrella. That really, why do you want to work for a company? Is it people-centric? And we learned that during the pandemic, like if it's not a people-centric company, it's not right for me. Or that's why people were leaving organizations because they did not get taken care of, or as we've seen now, major layoffs. Like what can we do as companies and employers to really show up for employees, right? So having those conversations, informational conversations, and what is the vibe that you get during those conversations? So that is super helpful in the process. All right, so we're going to stop. We have our last few questions coming in here. Should I disclose my salary history? I would say no. And that's illegal to even ask that in, like, I think New York, California, etc. I'd recommend you do the research. And this is something I do with my clients during strategy session, to know your market value, know your worth, prepare for negotiation. And even early on, don't even have conversations and waste your time or the recruiter's time. You can ask on InMail or email, hey, can I ask you, what is your budgeted salary for this role? They can give you kind of a ballpark, and you wouldn't even be in conversation if you're not potentially qualified or in that general kind of ballpark. So totally, it's very common these days to ask, what is your budgeted salary? Boom, quiet, drop the mic, and wait for their response, okay? But definitely, because what happens is discrimination happens. There's things that come up with salary history of like where you've been and where you're looking to go. Maybe you just finished a certification or an educational degree or gotten more experience. Like by no means, there's so many factors of what you've been paid in the past and what you should be paid that you don't want that to be a deciding factor. All right. I would say for the next one, what's the best way to follow up after an interview? So you're going to see that one popping up on the screen. This one, I would say for sure, email is my preferred as a recruiter and as a candidate. I would say within that next week, I just got off with a prospective client today, and they sounded kind of hesitant to even follow up because they didn't really know the timeline of the hiring manager. So totally, you are a candidate advocate. You are doing this candidate campaign. This is your marketing campaign. So it's up to you to follow up and show interest, availability, show that you're intrigued about the company that you would like to work with. So absolutely email. I'm kind of funny about phone calls, but just it slows down recruiters. So email is my preferred, even more than an InMail. Okay, let's look at the last few. I know we have about 8 minutes. I'll see if there's any other questions coming through, but feel free to put your name and where you're calling in from or checking out the live. So I'm Jena from Tampa, Florida. That's what I would drop in the comments. So I'm going to start wrapping up the questions here that have come through. Okay, how do I prepare for a job interview? So next, in 2 weeks, bi-weekly, I think it's March 8th, I'll be doing on that Wednesday a workshop all about how to, like I think it's 3+ ways to prepare for an interview. So definitely stay tuned for that workshop. It's a free workshop on live that I'll be doing. But how do I prepare? Kind of short and sweet recommendation would be definitely printing out the job description, definitely thinking about the STAR method. So what's the situation? What's the task? What's the action? What's the result? Thinking about different areas and categories. So what are my technology skills, my people leadership skills? What are I'm just going to give you an example. These are like main headers, and then you would kind of have your 1 to 2 examples of like what work you've done based on that case study. So as an example, let's say technology. Oh yes, I work with applicant tracking systems, ADP, Workday, Taleo, Workable. I mean, the list goes on. And the situation at hand was I was new to Workday. I heard it's up and coming. So that's the situation, is kind of getting acclimated with the system that's user friendly, but I haven't ever been in this example. The task at hand was to get comfortable navigating the system, using it, teaching others, peers, and leaders. The action I took was I deep dove into workshops and learning and YouTube videos, and really being able to like run through the ins and outs of each of the areas and capabilities within the system. The end result was that I was able to train and mentor 10 new users into the Workday platform so we could create more efficiencies. So I kind of take the audience or the interview team through that process, and you have those examples kind of written out or thought through. So it's a little more natural about your value add, and I don't kind of get scatterbrained and I'm not all over the place. So kind of thinking about that or having those conversations and mock scenarios is so helpful, and really making sure that we're showing compatibility and value add based on the job description, right? That's almost like a dating site where they are putting out, this is what I'm looking for, you're answering and saying, this is what I have to offer, and then communicating that through the process. Let me see, making sure that you know you're logged in early on Zoom or Teams or however you're going to be connecting, making sure that you are not late and that you're well prepared, visually with your attire, hair, makeup. First impression is key. Backdrop is either blurred out or you have a calming background, and it's a quiet workspace. Let me see. Those are probably the big key things that I help people with for like interview prep coaching sessions. Typically we spend about a good hour and just get people hyper focused and comfortable once they start having interviews scheduled on the calendar. And I'll leave you with, how should I negotiate my salary? So this is so helpful because a lot of clients have been giving me feedback during the NPS survey feedback after I work with them. And I've been noticing a trend that they are now asking for the value that they're bringing to an organization. And some of them are even making 25 to 50,000 plus on their salary, not just OTE, their base salary, which is, they've said, very transformational for them and their families. So that to me is the true transformation of like people showing up, using the personal brand, resume, cover letter, LinkedIn optimization to really package and use that as a marketing tool to be able to negotiate and demand a higher salary. Boom, mic drop. That is where I'm going to leave you. I know we have about 4 minutes. Let me check. I have some comments that came through. Hey, Tina, thanks for hopping on. I think you're still in Virginia. Idalia, let me answer your question. Waleed, thanks for hopping on from New Jersey. So how do you negotiate salary once you provided them with a salary range, but then find further information and find that you lowballed yourself? I feel you, sister. Okay. So I know that's a little bit more difficult, and it's a learning process through this, like I call this interview and conversational, like we're exercising the muscle. And you'll get more confident with the process. But if you need to go back and kind of say like, hey, let me just reverse a moment, you could say, based on my research, I did mean to mention payscale.com and salary.com are two fantastic, I highly recommend resources. I put those in the chat box. This is what I use for negotiating and pulling data for my clients. Previously, LinkedIn, I think if you have premium, you might have access. They have different tier packages that you can get access to salary data. You want to make sure it's quality data. I hear they now have it on Glassdoor. I'm not as comfortable or confident in where they're getting the data from and how factual it is. But you could definitely say, based on my research, and kind of show them what you pulled, it looks like, unfortunately, this is on the lower end. Or I always look at United States nationwide versus just like back in the day, Florida was a cheaper market or less expensive, more affordable for cost of living. Now, groceries are more, vehicles are more, housing is more. So we need to look at United States data and look at that midpoint. What is the average midpoint that people are getting paid at the same level, job title, industry, etc.? So I'll leave you there. Payscale and salary.com, I recommend you make a free candidate profile and definitely check out the data. Fantastic question. And Adalia, now you'll know for future reference, like, hey, let me be a little more reserved with oversharing and spinning that question and saying, hey, can I ask, what do you have budgeted for this role? I even saw on LinkedIn, Adalia, today, I think, where somebody said they got to, like, after 5 interviews, they found out it was like a $25,000 difference on the base salary. And it's like those conversations should be initiated by great recruiters, have those conversations in advance. So my role is to really help educate people through the candidate experience of like what to expect, what is better standards or higher expectations, or not just like settling for companies that are just barely communicating and giving updates. So that is my intention during this conversation, is really helping you all navigate this, because it can be confusing, overwhelming if you haven't been on the job market. So hopefully that's helpful. Hey, Andrea, thanks for joining. Open up any final questions. We have 1 minute remaining. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram Live. It's so great to be on here. I'm going to stop sharing my banner. And what I would love to invite you all, would love to hear from you, get to know you a little bit better. I have 2 options here. Let's schedule for like a follow-up, more intimate conversation. I do have small group of 5 or less, or you could do a one-on-one conversation. So you have that option. Would love to chat with you. You're welcome, Adalia. Would love to chat with you. I did put that through. Hopefully those links came up for you. So we can chat, get to know your personalized, like what you're going through, what's your career journey, what are we looking to do next? A lot of my clients are looking for remote or hybrid flexibility, sense of autonomy, even in those leadership executive roles. So I'm excited to chat with you, get to know you more. Thanks again for joining, and I will see you next time. Have a great rest of your week. Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me. I'm your host, Jena Vargas, a former recruiter turned podcast producer and lover of content production and digital marketing as a way to connect and engage with other high-performing experts about ways to live our best lives through our career and life transitions. After all, we all experience adversity, and we need a little bit of encouragement and inspiration to get through it.